Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. This is Thursday, June 15th. My name is Alan, and I want to welcome you to my Spiritual Growth Through Recovery podcast. The purpose of these videos is to grow my spirituality by following the AA program of recovery, and I try to do that by being as honest, vulnerable, and accountable as I can be. It makes me put some work in. I'm no expert in AA or spirituality or recovery. I'm just trying to live life on life's terms and do it sober. So recipe we follow here is we read the daily reading out of the AA Daily Reflections book. There is a link in the description if you would like to follow along. I'll just share my take on the reading and usually some other topic. All right, cool. Well, let's get busy. So the topic today is going to be making AA your higher power and the idea of self-will. All right, so let's get busy. June 15th. Making AA your higher power. You can make AA itself your higher power. Here's a very large group of people who have solved their alcohol problem. Many members have crossed the threshold just this way. Their faith broadened and deepened, transformed. They came to believe in a higher power. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 27 to 28. No one was greater than I, at least in my eyes, when I was drinking. Nevertheless, I couldn't smile at myself in the mirror, so I came to AA where, with others, I heard talk of a higher power. I couldn't accept the concept of a higher power because I believed God was cruel and unloving. In desperation, I chose a table, a tree, then my AA group as my higher power. Time passed, my life improved, and I began to wonder about this higher power. Gradually, with patience, humility, and a lot of questions, I came to believe in God. Now my relationship with my higher power gives me the strength to live a happy, sober life. All right, so this whole concept of higher power is something I still kind of struggle with. And so what they're trying to say is just anything but you, anything but me, because apparently when I manage my life, it does not go well. So the idea is just pick anything because it can't screw it up any worse. So I just love how the AA program has these little baby steps and just to believing and to surrendering to a higher power. We can't just take the whole thing because if we could, we would have done it already. So we just have this nice little baby steps. There are no absolutes. The whole concept is whatever I want it to be. It seems like it could go awry a little bit, but it doesn't have to be anything set in stone. So anything too rigid, we're gonna bail anyway. Talked about when I was up there drinking, no one was greater than me. I couldn't look myself in the mirror, and that's. I just think of the facade that I used to created just to feel okay, but I never really felt okay. I think we can spin and warp our reality to whatever we want it to be, but then ultimately, at some level, we know it's not. We're not real. We're not who we want to be. I talked about I couldn't accept the concept of a higher power because I believe God was cruel and unloving. I wouldn't say he's cruel and unloving. I just think he doesn't care. Well, why would he care? That's just kind of what I believe in this area. When it talks about choosing a table, a tree, and then an AA group, I chose my sponsor's higher power. That's what they encourage me. I see the progress they've made. Something must be working. I believe in them, so I must believe in their higher power. And it talks about having the higher power give me strength to live a happy, sober life, and we're getting there. We're getting there, slowly but surely getting there. So. All right, so that's the topic of higher power. I do want to kind of get into the idea of this self-will thing. So what is self-will? I spent a lot of time on this, trying to just get a concept of what it means, not only in general, but from a recovery addiction standpoint. So self-will is a quality of stubbornly doing what one wants in spite of the wishes or orders of others. When I first thought, what's wrong with self-will? I just want to do it. I don't care what other people think. Well, it's almost, the way I'm interpreting it, it's almost throwing a fit and going, just out of spite, doing it anyway, kind of a thing. Stubborn or willed for adherence to one's own desires or ideas, no matter what. I'm doing it my way. Not that our way is always horrible, but adamantly my way, period, regardless of the consequences, kind of where I fit on this thing. So where is self-will is talked about in AA literature? So there's a few areas, the 4 areas specifically in the big book where it talks about and how it works on page 60 and 62. And in 60 it talks about right after it goes through the steps, and it says being convinced we are at step 3, which is that we decide to turn our will and our life over the care for God as we understood him. Just what do I mean by that? And just what do we do? The first requirement is be convinced that any life run on self-will can hardly be a success. My way just doesn't work. And I've kind of proven that, right? And so it's just, no matter what we do, and it talks about, on that basis, we're almost always in collision with something or somebody. If I'm always butting heads with all these people around me, maybe it's not them, maybe it's me and the way I'm running things. And then in page 62 of How It Works, it talks about, so our troubles, we think, are basically of our own making. They arise out of ourselves. And the alcoholic is an extreme example of self-will run riot. But he usually doesn't think so. Of everything, alcoholics must be rid of this selfishness, or it kills us. God makes that possible. And I'm going to kind of talk about that self-will run riot here in a second. So then also, when we get into action, pages 70, 71, and then 76, see what it says. In this book, you read again and again that faith did for us what we could not do for ourselves. We hope you are convinced now that God can remove whatever self-will has blocked you off from Him. Not only is it causing havoc, but it's cutting us off from our higher power. Okay? And finally, on page 76 here, it talks about right after steps 8 and 9, talking about maybe a list of persons we harmed. We go out to our fellows and repair the damage. We attempt to sweep away the debris which has accumulated out of our effort to live on self-will and run to show ourselves. What are the consequences? We've hurt people, now we have to go make amends. So those are the kind of consequences. So, so what is a self-will run riot? I found this really neat article on this. So I really liked how it phrased it. It really resonated with me. Self-will run riot is to live a life driven by self-will with no thought for anyone else. And I tell you, I think of somebody else, but not nearly as important. You have misconceptions regarding relationships, ideas, plans, and self-image. We do everything in our power to manipulate the situation to fit our own desires. Self-will run riot is born out of selfishness, and the obsession ensues quickly as an attempt to create a structure that in reality doesn't exist. We have to make things just fit in a certain way so that we're okay. And it doesn't work. It just doesn't work, right? Thinking of what's best, thinking you know what's best for you, thinking you can change external circumstances and control all aspects of your life. They're dangerous thinking patterns. Self-will is our thinking and what motivates us. What makes you want to go to work? What makes you do these things? Is it really about, it's always about me, it seems like, right? People shudder at the idea of surrendering to something greater than themselves, thinking they will lose their identities, their lives, and their desires. What actually happens is something pretty amazing. You find freedom from yourself, freedom from constantly trying to create a life that really doesn't exist, and freedom from tension with yourself and those around you. So what's the problem? Let's try to summarize the problem with all this stuff. What was life like when I relied on self-will? I was almost always in collision with something or someone, even though our motives were good, or so we thought. We were always trying to impose our desires and beliefs on the world around us, and things didn't go well. Surprise, right? Self-will cut us off from the higher power. We had us, who needs God? We seldom consider others in our pursuit of satisfying ourselves. So what's the solution? What's the solution to all this? It's not me, so what is it? So I'm just going back to these parts of the AA. It talked about, above everything else, we alcoholics must be rid of this selfishness. We must, or it kills us. God makes that possible. And there often seems no way of entirely ridding ourselves of it without His aid. We had to have God's help. And the AA program lays it out for me. It sets it right up. It points out, look how powerless you are. Can you possibly believe in anything other than you? Look at your life. Now go ahead, let's try to do that, and then see what happens, kind of thing. So I hope some of that made sense. My mind's all over the place, and so hopefully I made some sense on this today. I just want to encourage you to, what is your higher power? You driven on self-will? Are you trying to run everything? How's that working? You should consider another path. Something to think about. So anyway, I hope you got something out of it. I love doing these. It's really just recenters me in my life, and even though I'm far from perfect, I'm making progress, and that's enough. So all right, so I'll be back tomorrow for the last one of the week. So peace out.